obviously, we have a guest on today, Tony Turnquist. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Audience, we will get into Tony shortly here, but I just want to reach out, say thank you to the audience that comes back every week to listen, and I hope that everyone is, for the people that celebrate Christmas, I hope you had a great Christmas, seeing your family and seeing all your loved ones and whoever you were with, wherever you had to go, safe travels and everything of that sorts. And for the people still celebrating holidays, whatever they celebrate, I hope that is going awesome for you. I hope you are having fun and having a great time with friends and family, and that's the goal. That's the goal around this time of year. We all kind of close out the year having a great time with friends and family, and I'm happy to be seeing all the great things on social with all my friends and all my family that are posting about it and everything, and looks like everyone that I'm affiliated with is having a great time. So awesome. Tony, obviously I asked you how you're doing today, but thank you for coming on the podcast today. I was saying this so the audience has some context. I was saying this before we started recording. Tony has been one of the people that has been recommended by a handful of the guests that we've had on, so this episode is a long time coming. But yeah, thanks for hopping on today. I really appreciate the flexibility and you opening up your schedule to be on today. So yeah, why don't you kind of start things out, introduce yourself to the people, and then we can get into what we kind of have slated today. It sound all right?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jared. And I'm not sure who recommended me, but it will remain to be seen if I do well on this or not. So I've never done one of these. I had one planned, I think, pre-pandemic, and then that happened, and it got postponed and never picked up again. So like I was saying before this started, to Jared, I just want to commend you on the job you're doing. I've listened to a few people getting interviewed, creatives around the industry, and you kill it, man. I've listened to a few of these podcasts, and some are okay, some are really, really good, and you're definitely in the really good category. So, but a little bit about me. My name's Tony Turnquist. I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I currently live in Austin, Texas, though, to get away from the cold up there. I'll go back home a couple times a year and hit that negative temps, and I'm like, I need to go back down south. I've been down here for about 7 years now, so I definitely I miss the snow. I don't miss the negative 20 like they just had up there. So I know that's probably hitting on some sensitive ears with you, Jared.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm from Minneapolis. I work now as a creative director for a company actually based out of Wisconsin, called Capture Sports and Entertainment. I just started about 1 year ago, so this is kind of perfect timing for this podcast now that I've had a year to kind of reflect over my experience there and kind of just outside of college athletics, where I spent my professional life since I got out of school. So it's been a good 1 year, very different, very challenging, but also very rewarding professionally and personally, jumping outside of the college realm. So
Awesome. Yeah. You have, when you were referenced, you were also referenced with like Texas and Alabama. And then upon connecting with you on social media, been seeing what you're doing with Capture Sports Entertainment and everyone you work with, and all the content you guys are pushing out over there. You guys are doing an awesome job. And I may be a little biased as well because I'm a Packer fan and you work with Aaron Jones, so.
awesome guy, by the way, but big Vikings fan, but working with him is making me like I push for him, and there's just a lot of good people on the team. So continue though. I don't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. But yeah, the weather. My wife and I just recently bought a house, and like last week was like our first full week in the house. So of course that week had to be.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Huge.
I appreciate it. So yeah, that last week had to be, of course, negative like 87. It wasn't 87, but like negative I think it hit like -35 was the lowest. Almost said highest. Was the lowest it got with wind chill and everything, and yeah, so we were really testing the houses, the durability of everything, and I was sweating for damn sure. Just waking up in the middle of the night, hearing cracks and creaks and rattles, and oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we really jumped into the deep end with that one. So
Yeah. How'd the house hold up? I know it can be tough, especially if I don't know if you have an older home, newer, or.
house was built in 1930, so a pretty old house, but it's very structurally sound. It hasn't moved at all in what 92 years. So, or no, 88 years. And wait, which one is it? 92 years, I think.
I don't know. I'm not a math major. I don't know.
So yeah, it hasn't moved in however long it's been built. So like structurally it was good, but yeah, there's a couple rattles and everything that you have to get used to. But the one problem was we didn't have hot water for like a week. But that wasn't because of the cold. It was because some part on the water heater that it's like a toxic fumes sensor on the water heater. We got our floors done, so like the dude ended up putting, the sealant, the resin on top of the floors. We have hardwood floors, and apparently with the cold, all the residue and everything got caked onto the plug of that, and it completely shut down our water heater. So, I mean, the fix was quick, but we just had no idea. So when we called, there was a little bit of a turnaround for someone to come in, and yeah. So other than that, other than us not being able to shower at our house for the first week or so, it's been great.
It could be worse though.
It could be worse.
Heat, during that time. Even just having water, I know it's cold, but
Yeah,
we have issues down here where our pipes will freeze. I know a lot of people from the Midwest, if they never lived kind of down the southern part of the United States, like you have to cover your pipes and like you have to drip your faucets and all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't have to do any of that, like back home in Minnesota. So it's a learning curve, because otherwise they're just not made like that. Those pipes, if they're exposed too long and freezing temps like we had over the weekend, they can crack and burst, and all of a sudden you have flooding and all sorts of stuff go wrong. So I do miss the way that houses are made in the north. So at least nothing happened with your water in the sense that it ran out, or like we had a boil notice over the weekend. I don't remember too many of those back home. So that going for you. So
yeah, there definitely are a lot of other problems that we are thankful that we didn't have to yet encounter, knock on wood for that. But yeah, so kind of let's get into a little bit what we are kind of wanting to talk about. Main topic at hand that you brought up and that I am actually really, really excited to talk about is NIL. On the podcast, we have talked about NIL a little bit, but we're kind of we're looking at it from, I guess, maybe a different sense of the topic. We talked about NIL, like maybe scratch the surface a little bit previously in the podcast, but going into it now, we're kind of gonna just touch on a few other things. So when you were working in, let's see, you were Texas. Yep. Were you with Texas up to when you got the job with Capture Sports Entertainment? Like, was that a seamless transition, or was there a little downtime in between?
Yeah, I gave myself a few weeks off, but pretty much right up until I started working with Capture.
Okay, so, and you were in collegiate athletics before NIL, correct?
Yes, I had been in it since, honestly, I started working in college football when I was a sophomore. So, giving away my age, it's been like over 10 years. So, yeah, that was my space.
Okay, so yeah, you were able to experience it pre-NIL and now into NIL. So I guess when it comes to NIL from a designer perspective, what was your, I guess to start, just to kind of scratch the surface a little bit, what was your experience as a creative? Did you have to accommodate to NIL, or were you more freelanced? Like was the collegiate, like athletic creative staff Were
Mhm.
you tasked with conducting NIL services, or was that outsourced by the player or their
Uh,
agent or whoever they go through?
yeah, that's a great question. So first of all, like I want to say, I don't want to mix up the date,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I think it was that June of 2 years ago. So I only had 1 year in it, so very, very green. It was just very much a kind of no man's land. I think everything was um, kind of being figured out as far as what you could do legally and like in compliance with the university and
Mm-hmm.
these donors and like the athlete, and just that relationship was pretty muddy. So in our first year, I think the extent of NIL for us at Texas was really kind of putting together presentations, internal presentations for when recruits would come on visits, and hey, this is this is kind of what we have. This group has been started. Like there's these collectives now, but I know they've kind of opened a lot of that up, but we weren't very heavily involved. Like as far as if an athlete wanted a logo, or I'm actually not sure. I'm very interested. I'll have to hear more about people who are currently working in that space.
Mm-hmm.
What is kind of, I guess, legal, quote unquote, for creatives on staff to do for the athletes
Mm-hmm.
versus now a lot of it is, from what I've heard, is it's these collective groups, these donor collectives that like now they can actually partner with the university, and they can get content to the athletes. And there's companies being formed that provide those services for athletes. So we weren't very hands-on per se, and we actually tried our best. And I know my mentor Matt Lang, who was creative director, we both left at the same time at Texas, but we wanted to be kind of as hands off as possible because we know just to be able to service one athlete properly while promoting, your own, football team that's multiple jobs with multiple different people and multiple different resources. So we were trying our best to be like, hey, we're already kind of overworked as is. Like,
Mm-hmm.
let's not, be in charge and get in the mix with all the athletes on our team too. So we were very kind of and the more I guess new section of NIL where we just didn't have a lot of time. I like to see where it is now. I love
Mm-hmm.
to hear from somebody have on or who's working in college athletics now to see if they create content for athletes. Is that even allowed, or is it
Mm-hmm.
under the table? Probably can't say, but yeah,
Yeah, definitely an off the record type of
yeah,
type of thing.
exactly.
Yeah, the thing when NIL kind of came up. Oh, geez, how long? You know what? I'm just gonna search. When did NIL start? What does Google have to say? Effective July 1st, 2021. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So I almost was gonna say I was in high school, but no, I was not in high school. Like when it first became a thing, like I know me having a conversation with some of my I guess friends in college, but then also people that I connect with on social that are more, into the sports scene. My friends in college weren't really into the sports scene. We kind of have all our different. That's the weird thing with our friend group. Anyways, but yeah, like all the people that I connect with online, obviously they're in the sports scene and everything. So when that happened, it's like, okay, so from a creative standpoint, there are all these star players, right?
Yep.
Star players wanting to get ahead of the game when comparing, one, when starting their brand, but also being able to, be the first ones that are doing it so they can get noticed, they can, establish themselves, but, so we're trying to look for those opportunities and, see where kind of creatives fit. From that conversation, I haven't worked with any collegiate, athletes since NIL, to be honest. It's just not really my cup of tea, and and when there has been a proposal to work with a collegiate athlete, it's been, not with the athlete themselves. It's always been through a middleman, either their agent or their manager or whoever manages them or whatever, whatever the situation may be. So the enjoyment within that for myself in my experience has kind of been, a little bit lackluster. But I know now that, especially, it's kind of weird timing now with like the transfer portal and everything, like how influential creative is for some of these athletes. And like, what's your view on like how influential creative is like for an athlete when it compares to high profile athletes? Like, what's the Clemson dude? How do you pronounce his last name? The quarterback.
Oh, are you talking about the DJ?
Yeah, baby.
I call him DJU. I think that's his nickname. It's Uyungale, or
Yeah.
I don't want to butcher it too bad, but
He was like a high profile he is a high profile quarterback, let's be honest. And, so I know he signed a huge deal with like Vayner Sports at the beginning of the year or 2 years ago. Is he a freshman or is he a sophomore?
I think he's a sophomore and he just transferred, if I'm not correct. Is that right?
Yeah,
He just
I know he entered the transfer portal. I don't know
okay,
where
yeah,
he
yeah.
went.
I was looking. Yep.
I'm actually I'm actually curious to see if he has any
I don't know if he landed anywhere.
potentially. Oh wait, Oregon State.
Really?
Committed to
Wow.
Oregon State.
Interesting.
That's pretty cool. I like that transfer.
Yeah, I do too.
But yeah, so like athletes being able to be represented, digitally and adequately digitally is like a new craze now with this whole transfer portal. They, and I guess to ask you a question, to have you kind of share your what's the point of view on this? Like, what do you think the discrepancy is between like DJ, whatever his last name is, DJU, his like the high profile nature of his, him college athlete QB from Clemson, to like a middle of the pack, or like even like maybe one of his teammates, but like a wide receiver or like a running back or like something like that. If you can kind of understand the question.
Yeah, no, I think I get what you're saying. So to me, just in my opinion and through what I've seen, is you have your kind of major stars, your Heisman, trophy candidate type players. And I think heading into this season, he may have been on there at least like, obviously one of the more high profile quarterbacks. So the difference between those guys and like, let's just say, if it's an offensive lineman or, they never get any love, but they should. But, someone like that, or even if it's like a running back or who just gets a few, snaps in the game, I think the gap is actually extremely large. And that's it's tough. It's tough to see. It's just like, because I think it can kind of, it can be an interesting dynamic in those locker rooms between, like let's say if you got your left tackle, and he's probably getting something. And a lot of these schools, I think Texas Tech is one of them, just gave their athletes like a base level, just like across the board, you get 25K base. So there's some semblance of like, okay, we're all getting paid, but then the QB might be making, it's not even a reach to say like 2, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million. For his tenure, and that could be like per year. It's going to be crazy. Like Arch Manning at Texas, he's probably his potential earnings just having that name attached to him alone. I mean, I can't even imagine what that figure is per year, but the amount of endorsements that are coming after him and DJU are, those are your Nikes and your Beats by Dre versus your kind of more local, maybe like I don't know, like a donut shop or coffee shop. I don't know, but like that's kind of the difference, which is still really cool. But it is a big gap. I think the gap is really big, and that's tough. And I guess if you flip it, that is kind of, I work primarily in football, but like NFL, like you're starting quarterback versus offensive lineman. So that's kind of, and when it doesn't all pan out, like for example, Russell Wilson this year, all of a sudden you look at the the sidelines, and it's there's some linemen bickering at him, and it's just this awkward because it's like, hey man, you're getting how much money to perform, and I'm getting this much, do your job. So
Hmm.
and everybody's trying. I'm not saying they're bad people by any means. Everybody's trying their best, but it just makes it they're pro athletes at this time. They're getting paid to play, so
Hmm.
it's a very fascinating. Um, I don't know where it's going to go. It's fascinating to see it evolve, though.
Hmm. Yeah, I know you mentioned. I know you mentioned Matt a little bit before this, him being your mentor. Also, put a little bug in his ear. I would like to have him on my podcast. I sent out a few messages, and our conversation has just kind of fell through because he's apparently a pretty busy guy. So
He's a little bit
yeah,
busy. I'll get him on here. Though I'll text
yeah.
him after.
Put a little bug in his ear. I would love to have him on. But I see that he's working, freelance with some athletes. Well, I think mainly one, Bijan Robinson from Texas, and yeah, just seeing how influential that is for Bijan Robinson. Well, granted, he is probably one of the best running backs in the nation, so his abilities kind of talk the talk. Um, and he kind of presents himself as an athlete, kind of whatever. He's good, so he's going to get coverage no matter what. But then also capitalizing on that and being able to have something represent yourself to the best of, its ability, and having
Mhm.
your personality and your brand kind of shown in an upper echelon way is also, has, at least it seems like it's been super beneficial for him. I know he has that sponsorship with what, Lamborghini Austin or something like that,
We got a
whatever
ton,
it
but yeah,
is.
yeah, he has Lambo Austin, and he's got Beats by Dre. He has the best one, and everybody needs to pull this up right now. Is Bijan Mustardson. So his name sounds like Dijon Mustard, but uh, I think the people who run that, it was a guy who did all the Old Spice like commercials, and you can like when I say that, you're gonna be like, oh, I get it, and it's just some wild, really brilliant marketing and creative done by that team, but. Yeah, it's go check it out. Bijan Mustardson. I've had the mustard. It's incredible. I'm kind of getting sidetracked just thinking about it right now. But yeah, no, it's. I think I can't speak for Matt. Like I know I've seen some of his photography with Bijan, and like
Mm-hmm.
I think he did something with Beats by Dre and a shoot for that for him, and Lambo Austin was one. But like you want, if you're at that level, like you need to have high quality content. As kind of bridging the gap, like for what we do, we just did it this year, and I think this is going to explode. But I think we're a little bit on the early end, which is better to be early than later. But we just
Mm-hmm.
started kind of a division at Capture, and that's partly why I got brought on in personal branding. And we partnered with Jamal Williams, who is the running back for the Detroit Lions, in the wake of he was going to be on Hard Knocks, and just knowing his personality, he was going to be a star in that show. So we partnered in April, and it's been just an insane like case study. Like his social numbers skyrocketed. We were just creating cool stuff for him, and like a lot of it is posting content that's given to him through NFL players have socially, and it's just like, hey, just posting those photos. Like those guys are all professional photographers, videographers. You can put. It's just about consistent, quality, and it's just those guys go dormant. They post like once a month, or it's a picture of them posted up by their car, like just at a gas station. It's like that's not, that's cool, I guess, but like people want to see kind of a little bit more about you and behind the scenes, and just kind of, for him it was anime, so it's just been a blast working with him, and his manager, and just everything is themed around his love for anime, and we had his top three. And like I've learned so much about anime in the past. Boy, I don't know, less than a year, that like couldn't tell you one thing about anime. Now I could probably just talk about it for 20 minutes. But um, people. just want to see, especially that if you have like a I don't know the right word, niche. Is it niche?
I say niche.
Niche. Okay, let's go with niche. But if you have like a passion off the field and kind of really push that narrative, you can get this whole other following. Let's say if it's art or movies or music, and just really kind of push that. So when your playing career is done, those people, you still built that audience. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to be a football, basketball, baseball player forever. So, but his social numbers have exploded. His endorsement deals like have picked up, and that's at a professional level, but it's the same for what you're talking about, with Matt and the Bijans of the world. I mean, those accounts have more followers than the teams. I mean, we had a QB at Texas, Sam Ellinger. He's in the NFL now, is at the Colts, and he had more followers at the time than 90% of the teams we were playing. I'm like that. Like you are a business at that point, and
Mm-hmm.
your social channels and your brand like should be professionally handled. So, but yeah, it's sorry for this rant, but it's just been really cool to see, um, just kind of building that. And I know the NHL just created their own division of creating content for those top players. But like that requires a lot of content, a lot of full-time staff, a lot of resources, and the one-to-one relationship, like as to Matt to Bijan, our team at Capture and Jamal, like you can just really do it right. And you can't do that, a league full of 1,700 athletes. You can't have 20 people doing it. It's not enough. Like Tom Brady needs his own team.
Mm-hmm.
It's been fascinating to see. It's all those players and those athletes in college are going to leave knowing that and be more educated on how valuable, their social media presence is, how, their brand can speak volumes and lead to business opportunities. It's been just really, really.
I think we lost him. I think we may have lost Tony. So we will take a small little break here, and then we will get back to regular programming. All right, are we in? I think we're back.
Okay, we're back. I lost you.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Well, no, I was a little confused because you were frozen for me, and then you texted me you're frozen, and I was like,
Yeah.
wait. It's like I thought I must have lost connection. Something I don't know. Oh geez, what were we talking about? That's what we got to get back on.
I think that was perfect because it cut short my rant. So we were talking about kind of personal branding and just the crazy success that it had this past year.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Let's actually stay on that note because that's a very interesting kind of note, and I think we can tie in. I mean, you've already talked about how you as a designer have played a role in that, and so outside of like collegiate athletics, right? I think college has gotten put on a pedestal because of that new NIL thing. It's brand new, it's nice, people are gonna like new shiny things.
Yeah.
But from a standpoint of like, I mean, you're working with professional athletes, and you just talking about how influential it has been for for Jamal's social channels, and I mean, do you think it would be easier? I mean, you can only say so many things on this, but do you think it's easier for a player to like he's partnered with Capture, right? He's partnered with Capture. Capture is like it's like a what exactly is it, like a marketing agency or?
Yeah, I'd say that's a good way to describe it.
Okay. So, yeah, I guess, do you think, I mean, you're probably going to say yes, but maybe this will stem into a conversation. Do you think it's like as many athletes in, professional, whether it's NFL, but we'll use NFL for this example. Do you think they should do this, or do you think they should hire their own independent team? Like, do you think this is just a right move for athletes?
Yeah, I think. Are you saying specifically like to work with like a
Yeah,
marketing.
work with like a creative team and be able to
Yeah,
adequately show themselves. I mean, let's be honest. If you're in the NFL and you have even a decent name about you in the NFL, there's enough money going around for yourself to be able to pay and adequately, run your own social platforms to a point where you can gain that cost is probably going to offset itself, you know.
absolutely. Yeah, no, I think I'm not sure where I cut out, so I apologize if I repeat myself.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think just seeing even financially, it's tough to directly prove it, right?
Mhm.
But if you look at the numbers and just like the amount of people you're engaging, it was like 700% a month before, the even before the season even started. So
Mhm.
it was yeah, it was crazy, man. Like the amount of exposure that they get from this, their endorsement deals picked up. I think I don't know about every single athlete, but I want to say, if you're a high profile athlete, especially, I mean, you know who you are in college, especially in the pro level,
Mhm.
you absolutely should get yourself a creative team because, if you're at that 150,000, 200, thousand follower, like that range, even whenever you get to six figures, that's something you definitely want to, you're a businessman, like, and I'm talking about the Jay-Z where it's a comma, you're a business, comma, man. So like your socials should, if you go look at LeBron or Tom Brady's, like you can kind of see like the amount of content they're putting out,
Mhm.
the frequency they're doing it at. It's very professional and it's they've benefited a lot. So you don't trip over pennies to make dollars, is something I always say. So
Mhm.
uh, absolutely it will have an incredible ROI.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Your camera, at least on my Discord, is cut out. Can you
Oh,
see yourself and not see me?
I don't know. I just shut off. I don't know
Oh,
why, but there
perfect.
you go.
Okay, yeah, it's fixed. Just recently, some problems with the Discord. Maybe we'll have to figure something new
Yeah.
out. But yeah, I think like from a creative standpoint, what do you think would be the best in? I mean, obviously you're working with Capture, so you have your into this whole community and kind of
Mhm.
how this is being ran and everything like that. But as a creative, kind of listening to this and wondering how to get started and kind of set their foot into this side of design within the sports industry, what do you think should be the first step?
Ooh, that's a great question. Um, Honestly, like right now, I'm assuming the easiest answer is freelance.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just not a lot of this in existence. It's so new. I mean, like, yeah, come work with me at Capture, right? I mean, but there's a lot of agencies that kind of claim, like, I'm not gonna call them out, obviously, but they say that they do that. But you can tell, like, I mean, they're handling like 150 athletes. Like, they can't provide 150 pro athletes with consistent quality content
Mm-hmm.
with three people when they're worried about promoting their own brand and getting more people to join. So I think
Mm-hmm.
honestly it's so new right now. But I honestly the only one I really know that's doing kind of what we do, let's say with Jamal or like Matt with Bijan was a personal connection. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're on a current, you know, college team and you decided to make the jump and go freelance and tell a couple of those, guys or ladies like, hey, like I'm about to go, on the freelance route. I love to work with you and like create content
Mm-hmm.
that's meaningful and kind of be strategic that way. But the NHL is the only other real, I guess, it's not an agency, right? But like it's a league where they have a whole team devoted to creating custom content for individual players. So that's the difference. So right now there's not a lot. So it's kind of the world is your oyster, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, but but I think in the next 2 years you're going to see a lot of this pick up. So I'd love to have this same chat in a couple of years and see where it lands. So that I
Yeah.
know that's not probably the answer you were looking for, but it's just so new. Like the other thing I'd say, I know these donor collectives are partnering with companies. I don't know, uh, the companies per se, but that's going to be part of that agreement is providing custom content for athletes. So I know another huge thing always will be in sports is trading cards. NFTs are big now. That's a way to kind of create. There's various companies that do that too.
Hmm.
I know that's very very financially and monetarily attractive. Like that is definitely a route that would be kind of both fun, and you can profit quite a bit off of that.
Hmm.
I don't know a ton of NFTs, but I can see that, that market too. But yeah, man, I really want to see where it goes. I don't think there's a really, really solid answer yet, but there will be, I bet, in the next year. So,
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting to see where all this is going. I even think like I mean more teams in general are doing more like personalized, not just like just for one player, but more personalized, organic, you know, personality driven, character driven type of content around their players. So this the type of content where these businesses are stemming towards or going towards, teams are already doing that. So I think like if I was a designer looking into getting, into what you're doing, and I haven't done it, potentially, if I was, let's say I'm in high school right now,
yep.
do this for some of your friends. Do this for like a football team or an NBA team. Like, I mean, yeah, I know high school sports get a little serious sometimes, so maybe you're not at the right high school for this, but like asking coaches, asking athletic directors, hey, can I start social channels for these teams? And, can I shoot? Can I do graphics? Can I, do video, do photos, whatever your thing is, and just create like practicing creating content around some of these players, showcasing more of a personal side of these players rather than a basketball player, football player, baseball player, because everyone knows that they are, but not everyone knows who they are as a person. I think that's where a lot of this content succeeds. It's like the audience's first look in at who Alex Ovechkin is as a person rather than one of the best NHL players of all time, So it's like that's where I think you may start if you're in like I mean you could do the same with college. Obviously, depending on where you are, there's going to be, full intern staffs already or full-time staff already. So obviously this depends where you are, but like I went to a D3 college in small town Stevens Point, Wisconsin. So it's like I could have asked to sit on the sidelines at a football game every week and shoot photos of the guys.
Yep.
I mean, I was a design student, so I had access to the equipment. I easily could have asked my professors, hey, I'm going to use this weekend. Okay, don't break it, that type of stuff. Like, there are some loopholes you can go into depending on your situation, obviously. If I'm out of college, like if I'm right now wanting to do this, I would probably just create, I mean, obviously your resources are a little bit more limited, but I'd start with the graphic route for myself personally. I'd start creating like, keeping track of, let's say I like a player, let's say Tyreek Hill, he comes to mind. I would be making like hit personal account coverage graphics for each game that he has, that type of stuff. So I can at least put it on my portfolio and showcase that I can do this type of personalized type of stuff. Or like you see Tyreek Hill had like let's use Christmas for example, because it just happened. He did like a charity Christmas event. Go back, rebrand the details of that charity Christmas event. Say on your portfolio that this was rebranded based off of the real thing or used as inspiration or however you want to word it, so you're not, directly ripping someone's idea, just so you can showcase that you are able to do some of the things that these players and these media companies and, are looking for, so that's where I would start.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I mean, I don't even think unless you're, um, you really want to get into photography, like what part of creative. But I mean, if you're
Mm-hmm.
a designer or if you wanted to, edit videos or like you can do all that. You can just pick a player and do some research, pro, collegiate. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it can be your high school buddy, but if you're at that level right now, but you study up and you just build out what you're saying. Like we had talks all the time. It's like my dream job is to be, I want to make movie posters for
Mm-hmm.
a large agency. Like there's a agency called BLT that produces like I think all the Marvel movie posters. We'll start making movie posters, and just
Mm-hmm.
get better and if you really can just through kind of building out, just build up like a fake case study of Tyreek Hill, for a year and just I would say I don't want to give away our secrets, and it's not a secret, but like, if you wanted to do like, his game day, you can go on the Dolphins and look at like, hey, this is what he's wearing before every game. Like you can kind of see like, hey, this is the music he's listening to. Like some of that stuff is so that information is so accessible now.
Mm-hmm.
Just go do it and build it out and kind of release it in like your portfolio at the end of the year, and that will gain traction if it's well done. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just so much of that information's with social media or just Google is at your fingertips.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you can fake it, so yeah, or just make it up. It's like this is Tyreek's game day playlist. These are his favorite songs. Like
Mm-hmm.
people understand what you're getting at. It doesn't have to be accurate, and just make sure, like you said, disclose these are not his actual favorite songs or anything.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, you nailed it. That's exactly, if I wasn't in that space, that's a perfect way to show you are capable of getting into that space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess it's just formulating. I mean, obviously applying to jobs that you want to work at,
Yep.
or even. I mean, yes, you can make the portfolio piece, but you also have to put yourself out there, right? Very seldom, at least in my experience, I don't know, some people get lucky, but very seldom do things kind of just naturally come to me. Most of the time, I have to reach out to people that I want to work with. I have to reach out to different types of organizations and everything like that to see, even inquire about the opportunity that I would either want to pitch them or that I'm interested in, those type of things. So you got to do the work other than, you have to sell yourself, basically. You have to put yourself into a position where you can get those opportunities that you want.
Yeah, and I think I saw. I'm glad you said that. I think I saw the creative director of the NFL, Dane. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, Storson, possibly. But he had said something that like struck a chord with me. I believe it was him who he tweeted something about we're telling our athletes to do that, to do all these things, but we don't do it ourselves. Meaning, like creatives are kind of their own brands too, right? Like make
Mm-hmm.
yourself available, like put your content out there, especially if you're not like where you want to be, or you're growing and you want to kind of get in the industry. Like show your work. Like they're not gonna, like you said, just stumble upon, like, hey, unless it's word of mouth. I mean, I got my job at Alabama through social media. Like I got connected with other opportunities through social media, and I'm telling these like pro athletes and now college athletes, like tell them the same thing. Like your social is like a huge networking tool. There's a way to post a lot and not be like it's all about me. Like I
Mm-hmm.
wish everybody posted multiple. You know, it depends like what it is they're posting, but like I mean, I think creatives should be posting their work all the time. I mean, it's just like it's inspiring to others. It puts yourself out there. It helps you connect with other people in the industry. It leads to job opportunities. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just make yourself available. And there's a way to go about that, just like in anything in life, is it's the how, right? It's not like, hey, look at me, but it's like, hey, here's something I did for, the Super Bowl, or like I thought this was cool. Like, just it's okay. Like just don't say I'm the best to ever do it or I'm the GOAT. That's a little That's different. But put yourself out there. I think there's a lot of creatives that are that used to be a huge debate, and I'm sure you might have stemmed on this with previous guests, but just kind of like how to post your work, is so important. But you definitely need to be doing that. So yeah. So another tangent, but I love when people post their stuff all the time or like share it in a way. It's just like I save all that stuff to my phone, like inspiration folders. I think I have like 300 I saved my phone this year, and then like another probably triple that on my desktop that I see throughout the day, and just like screenshot inspiration folder, and I love how they did that type treatment or I can go on all day, but it's just like, but man, you just nailed it on the head. You really gotta put yourself out there, and to be stumbled upon is pretty rare nowadays. So someone else posting that, I guarantee they're posting their work, and they're gonna be like, oh, let's hire this person. He knows what he's doing. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, Tony, I mean, it's been an awesome episode having you on. It's been a really good conversation. That's why I said this before we started recording. Like, I just like these episodes because like it's most of the time our first time meeting. We get firsthand experience of how we are as designers and how we view the topic we're talking about. It's been awesome. So yeah, thank you again for being on today. And it was a blast. Most likely we'll be reaching back out. I mean, maybe I'll even stem out the invitation to have you back on after we stop recording here. But yeah, to the viewer, go down below. All of Tony's links will be down below. At least I'll have his Twitter, at least where I've connected with him, and then his portfolio will be down below. So go connect with Tony, go view Tony's stuff, and kind of, go from there however you would like to. But anyways, this has been episode 28 of the Creative Process Podcast. Thank you for taking the time for listening today on this, I guess the time recording, it's a Tuesday. So on this Wednesday or Friday or Saturday, whenever you're listening to this. And as always, make sure you tell someone that you love them. All right, we will take it easy. Have a good one. Peace.